here we are. Japan's coming on.
And the hybrid vehicles that are on the market today, they have better fuel economy typically than a conventional vehicle, but they don't eliminate our dependence on foreign oil. With the hydrogen fuel cell vehicle that we have here, we actually eliminate our dependence on foreign oil.
General Motors is focusing much of our advanced technology on another concept vehicle, the Chevrolet Sequel. And the Chevrolet Sequel really is the world's most advanced technology vehicle ever produced. You do have hydrogen and fuel cells. You can store 8 kilograms of hydrogen on the vehicle to give you a 300-mile range between Phillips. You have electric steering, by-wire braking, and wheel motors. Now, this is pretty exciting when you can now drive the wheels independently with electric motors. Think of a future where each corner of the vehicle has a wheel motor. You can control the torque and traction at that corner. And now you can control the steering and braking, torque and traction, and the chassis all simultaneously. So Sequel is looking like an all-new DNA for the automobile. And that's going to inspire innovation, it's going to stimulate growth, and it's going to be sustainable growth.
For the very first time, we've been able to demonstrate that this vehicle meets customer needs. It's the first zero-emissions vehicle that can claim that. But we still haven't solved the cost problem associated with the technology. We're working on it, and we're bringing the cost down, but it's going to take a few more years for us to bring the cost down to a level where it's competitive with a gasoline engine. There's no reason why we can't shift towards hydrogen fuel cells. And we know how to make hydrogen from sources other than gasoline at a price that is competitive. So really the challenge is, a lot of it is political will to bring to bear a hydrogen infrastructure. And of course we have some work to do at General Motors and with our suppliers to bring the cost down of the hydrogen storage system and the fuel cell technology. But you know, we're making great progress here.
A lot of people are placing their bets on the hydrogen economy. You're hearing that we're going to see fuel cells by 2018, or 2020. This is a bet that requires a lot of infrastructural development. You're going to have to put in an entire hydrogen infrastructure before you see that happen. Whereas with a car like the Volt, any standard 110-volt electric plug can help charge this car. Any standard fuel pump can also help charge this car. This is something you could put on the road today and would be entirely feasible for the average American.
If you have any more questions about the Chevy Volt, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you at this time. Have a great day at the New York Auto Show.
It's not the sole responsibility of the automakers to change the industry. They need the buying power of the public. A public no longer in denial about their addiction to oil and no longer enamored with horsepower and machismo.
In the United States, we've kept our gasoline prices very low, and as a result of that, whenever we improve the efficiency of an automobile, our customers tend to want to buy more displacement and more performance and larger vehicles rather than more efficient vehicles.
It's not cars themselves that are marauding toward gas stations and sucking the resources dry. It's the people who are driving the cars who are using the gasoline. And we need to come to peace with the reality that as much as we need to change our technology, we have to change our mindsets. We have to change our willingness to take a good look at our own consumption patterns and create efficiencies in our lives in the same way that we create efficiencies in our technologies. What we need to do to incentivize Americans to adopt more efficient behavior patterns is come up with more creative solutions. So we could do more incentives for owners of efficient cars. If they're parking in 2-hour spots, they could maybe get 4 hours. We can introduce a fee-bait plan where people who have SUVs that get less than 20 miles per gallon have to pay a fee for the use of that car. There are ways to nudge behavior patterns in the United States toward greater efficiency that go beyond just technological change.
Our legislators must also close the loopholes that are big enough to drive through. For instance, car companies are trying to avoid fuel efficiency standards by converting SUVs to be flex fuel compatible. However, only 1% of drivers have access to flex fuels.
The problem is not Americans and their love of the car. The problem is Detroit, which is a bankrupt industry, in essence, one that abandoned genuine innovation at least 10 years ago in favor of short-termism And I think there's a real systemic problem in the industry, as well as in how Washington regulates the industry and ultimately is held in regulatory capture by the lobbyists of the car and oil industries.
It would be nice if public policy would support and not distort the business logic that's leading us off oil. I'm not holding my breath. Washington has been gridlocked for a long time. There's more political leadership at a state level. But I think the most important leadership is emerging in the business community.
The solutions to our energy problems will come from individuals and from markets, not from the government. I'm convinced of that. We're the most innovative society on earth, but government has rarely come up with those innovations. The problem in energy is that we've had a set of policies, energy subsidies, all forms of distortions to the marketplace that Washington has put in place that has actually helped prop up the incumbent powers of whether it's oil or other forms of fossil fuels, and actually made it much more difficult for any kind of newcomer to compete on a level playing field. That's why it's so important for government to get the policies right.
Now, the dream cars of tomorrow.
Will we demand the right policies? Will we hold the car makers of the future to their promises? A wise man once said, "Failure is only the opportunity to begin again more intelligently." That wise man was Henry Ford. For more information and to subscribe to our podcast, visit us online at e2series.com.